Hello and welcome back to the SNS Football Podcast. We are back again. We always do these in dribs and drabs. We're all very busy, but we've come back tonight with a strong lineup. You know, all the boys are in, and we have a very new special guest as well. So we'll start off with the usuals. Morgan, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Good as always. Beautiful weather. You know, club football's coming back. What's there not to enjoy?
Oh, mate, I can't wait. I can't wait for this new season, to be honest. The Euros has just flew me by. I want this season as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, we will talk about the Euros in a bit, but we are also joined by Chelsea. Morgan. How are you doing, lad? You're in a very sunny location.
I'm in a different setting. I'm usually in my kitchen today. I've stepped outside into the garden to enjoy the British summer. But no, same as you guys. Looking forward to the club season starting again, and I think the Euros has whet everyone's appetite a bit.
Oh, mate! The Euros was a good tournament, I think we'll say, but we'll get on to the ins and outs and that. But the new guest today we have got from the TikTok world. We have got Joe Harvey. Joe, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Mate, all good. We've got another Man United fan on the channel, and surprisingly, we don't seem to get too many on here. We have, Josh and Joe and stuff like that, but we've got another Joe on the channel, and he's a United fan. So, mate, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I know it's new season. It's looking good. It's looking promising for us.
It is. Lots of United transfer news. We've already spoken about Sancho previously, but as always, United's live with every person to ever kick a football in the world. So we're trying to narrow it down to the ones that are semi-realistic. But without further ado, all these guys, accounts on Twitter, Insta, Joe's on TikTok are in the description. So if you want to go check them out, make sure you go do so. Drop them a follow because they're all top lads. We will kick things off with our Euro 2020 review. I mean, where do we even start? I mean, obviously we've got, I suppose, the heartache of the final, all of us being England fans. But Philip Morgan, we'll come to you first. What was your view on the whole tournament and sort of England as well throughout the whole tournament?
I think as a tournament, I think it was a fascinating tournament. To be fair, I think there was a lot of underwhelming performances, especially from sides that I think everyone expected to do well. I think you look at France, Netherlands, they didn't really have great tournaments. Spain didn't really have a great tournament until the latter stages where they decided to turn it up a gear. But I mean, England, we were probably a bit poor in the group stages, but we did what we needed to get through the group. We turned it on in the knockout. I thought we were probably the best team across the 3 knockout games that we ended up playing. But the one that matters is the final, and we come up against, in my opinion, the best current team in world football in Italy, and we just fell short in the final. But a tournament to be proud of because, again, that video of Greg Dykes come out loads recently of him saying, 7 years ago, well, 8 years ago now, but we'd be in the semi-final of Euro 2020. We went one further. So it's a promising tournament from England and one for sure that we should build on looking into the World Cup next year.
Definitely. I mean, it was a good summer. And I think, especially since Southgate's been in, he's really, got the fans back on side and you really feel that connection with the players. But Chelsea, Morgan, your views on sort of England as well throughout the Euros and their performance, because I think I agree with what Villa Morgan said. To be honest, I think we underperformed a little bit in the group stage, and I think if we had have lost to Germany, we would have looked back and said, well, we didn't really get going in the tournament. But obviously, the Germany game is where we sort of kick-started. So yeah, what was your views on the whole sort of tournament?
I think Southgate is very suited to knockout football. That just seems to be his style. It seems to work. So as soon as we got into that knockout stage, like you say, it did work better. The group stages, we had the massive build up for the Scotland game. Was it ever going to live up to the hype? I mean, it clearly didn't. And we did what we had to do. It was kind of a needs must. Don't show too much. Don't do too much. I think from an England perspective, I think for me anyway, we did more than I expected. I expected, semi-final, quarter-final. I think semi-final based on the World Cup in 2018 was what the minimum I expected. So to get to the final and for 60, 70 minutes to look like we were going to win the final is a big step in the right direction. And it's coming out now. There are 6 or 7 players that Southend can choose from that weren't in this squad that you could argue would make improvements to what was at the Euro. So we're, like Villa Morgan said, we're in a good position for the World Cup. But as a tournament as a whole, I didn't like the setup. I didn't like the traipsing across Europe. I thought it did give some teams that you could argue some teams had an unfair advantage. You know, we played 6 out of 7 games at home. You look at, I don't think get very far, but Wales traipsed from Baku to 2 games in Baku, back to and then into Rome. If they'd gone through in their game against Denmark, which they played in the Netherlands, they'd have gone back to Baku again. So was it a completely 100% fair tournament? I don't know, and I don't think it had that same tournament feel because it was all over the place. You haven't got that one like epicenter of a hive of activity where everyone's milling around, and you've got England, Germany, France, Portugal fans all in one place. I wanted to see a bit more from Belgium this time. Becoming what's the word? Major underachievers at big tournaments. They've got this golden generation, and I feel like labelling something a golden generation is starting to become a bit of a curse because quarters at the last Euros, 3rd place at the World Cup, quarters again at this Euros. If they don't win the World Cup, are Belgium going to win anything with this group of players? It's tough to say yes. France being world champions, you expected more to go in the way that they did to Switzerland, and so, yeah, there were a few underwhelming performances, but overall, I did think that we got the tournament we deserved after the year we've all been through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's true in what you said. There was a lot of with Belgium as well. I thought, you know, they would. To be honest, for me, the 4 favourites going into the tournament was England, Belgium, Portugal, and France. And if you look at all of them, you know, France obviously lost to Switzerland on penalties. Belgium went out to Italy, and Portugal went out to Belgium. And obviously, England lost to Italy in the final. So England actually did the best, I think, out of my 4 favourites. But again, there were some performers from squads, from players. But yeah, it was still a good tournament, nevertheless. Joe, we'll come to you. England. It was, like I said, rocky start, better knockout stage games. Got to the final, just couldn't quite get over the line. Do you think? I think with a lot of international football, you look at France, Portugal as well, and I think England. I think a lot of teams set up to play a little bit defensively because, you know, that's sort of the stuff that's been getting kicked around. Do you think teams with this much attacking quality, you look like Portugal, France, England, with all this attacking quality, do you think they should just go for it a bit more rather than sit back? And, you know, maybe we could have beaten Italy when we went 1-0 up. Joe, you might be on mute.
Is he muted?
Try again.
No.
Go on, try now. Go on, see if you can. Can't hear you, mate. We can't hear you. We've lost contact to Joe.
He's fumbling it.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. Hopefully we can get you back in. Try and get some new headset and we'll get you back in. All right? Cool, blimey. Oh.
No, just him, all right.
Anyway, we'll stay on the Euro just for a little bit, but England, what did you make of it? Like, obviously, I think Chelsea Morgan, you said we got to semis. It was decent. I think, to be honest, that's what I kind of expected. Quarter semis, whatever we could get to, would have been, you know, all right. When you get to a final, though, you expect to go that one step further, don't you? Villa Morgan, will come to you.
I think it feels very Croatia. The way that we lost that Italy game, I've got to say, I have incredible admiration for Italy. I really do, because I think when you tactically understand football, and when you constantly have to analyse it, which is what I do outside of here, you just have to appreciate that Italy saw that first 45 minutes and made tactical changes that completely stifled us, and we had absolutely no answer to it. I think when you go 1-0 up in a final, you have to go out and get the second and kill the game. I don't think personally we're good enough a team yet in terms of game management and experienced enough, especially in a final setting of a major tournament, to hold a team like Italy out. Because let's not forget, although Italy haven't really been as strong as they have been in recent years, they've still got players who have been there and done it, worn the shirt in major championships. Chiellini, Bonucci, Verratti, like they're not inexperienced players. I think the core spine of Italy showed. Jorginho, I thought, was phenomenal. As much as people want to hate on him, I thought he was absolutely outstanding for Italy in that midfield. And before the game, I said the midfield would be the thing that I think was England's downfall, because I don't think we've got as strong a midfield as Italy yet. I think we will in the next few years.
Do you think it was the midfield more than England's defence? Because I'm not going to lie, a lot of people at the beginning said the defence won't be able to do it. And then, the clean sheets kept coming in.
I think personally, taking Declan Rice off was probably the worst decision he made all tournament. Yeah. I think to take off our best player on the day I could not believe it. Because I thought the game was just passing by Calvin Phillips, and I thought surely this is Calvin Phillips off for Henderson, but I have no idea why he took off Rice. I just felt like Southgate made a lot of errors tactically, and his substitutions were a bit poor as well. Only giving Grealish 20 minutes or something ridiculous. Bringing Saka on before Rashford, Sancho. I think was a wrong move. Even though Saka's been brilliant this tournament, I'd much rather have had Sancho and Rashford running at their defence than Saka, if I'm being personally honest. Again, then bringing on Rashford and Sancho just to take a penalty when they haven't even kicked the ball and they're off cold from the bench. It was going to happen. But I just thought, there was one thing for me that was the game changer, and that was Italy bringing on Cristante from Roma. I thought he was exceptional for them. I thought the way he broke up our play in that second half and for the rest of the game was just ridiculous. We couldn't get anything going. I saw some ridiculous stat that Italy had 79% possession in a final. It's just, you can't get dominated in a final like that, regardless of whether it's your first final or not. As a manager, Southgate had to tactically tweak something in that second half. And I felt as though he was a little bit naive in his approach. You can't watch Italy dominate you for 45 minutes and bring on Jordan Henderson and Saka and think that something's going to change. I think he went to a back four as well and took Trippier off. But again, that didn't work. But by that time, it was too late. The flow of the game was Italy all over us. And I don't know, I personally just respect the opposition, because I think Italy were a phenomenal side. And I put a bet on Italy to win the tournament at the start, and it pulled through from there. As much as it's hard to take, I watched that first game that Italy played, and I said that day they'll win the tournament, because I just think they have a phenomenal system, and you just have to appreciate how good they are.
Definitely. We do have a couple of comments in, so if you are watching, get your comments in. We will get to them. Jack has said in Netherlands had a stinky tournament. Well, we've seen Frank de Boer, resign after it. France, Portugal, I'm not sure what that means, from Mustafa. Jack says again, Portugal got really unlucky this tournament, a hard group and a hard knockout round. That's true, but I think, a squad like Portugal, you expect them to play the good teams. It's not like an England squad in the last World Cup where we were like, we'll however well we do, we'll just take it. When you've got a good squad, you expect to play the hard teams and put up a test against them. Joe, mate, is your mic still working?
Oh,
I don't think it is, mate.
There.
I don't think it is. I can't hear you, mate.
No, can't hear you.
Do you want to try rejoining?
Oh,
do you leave and rejoin? All right, tidy. Hopefully we can get Joe back, because I do want him on in a bit to speak about United and stuff as well. But again, I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of you two mentioned the video that Greg Dyke put out from the FA saying, this was our plans for 8 years down the road. Yeah, Villa Morgan. So obviously all eyes on Qatar now. It's only 18 months away, if that. England have to go there with, like, let's be real here. We've all said going into the Euros, we were like semi-finals. We'll take another semi-final, and if we better it, we did fantastic. If not, then maybe we need to look at it. But you've got to go to Qatar now, thinking we're here to win this, and we should be winning this tournament with the players we got. Hopefully we can go there and really do well in Qatar. What's your thoughts going ahead into Qatar? We'll go to Chelsea Morgan first.
Well, look at this. Like, World Cup, we got semi-finals, we went out. Then we've gone one better this time, we've gone to final. But in both tournaments, we're the only team to have made the last four both times, which clearly shows, progression and stability in the squads. Like I said, these players are now going to have season and a half of some of them definitely European football, high-level Premier League football, adapting to the England style. So they'll mature, they'll get to know each other's play styles a bit better, but get more clinical. Because how many chances did we have inside matches and just not take them? And be more aggressive going forwards. Like Villa Morgan said, you can't play in the final and try and defend one goal. The best form of attack, the best form of defence, has been said hundreds of times, is to attack. And we didn't do it against Italy. We just kind of sat there after about minute 20 and went, come on then, like, come and attack us, which is never going to end well. We've seen Italy dictate play all through the Euros to many sides. So we were never going to just be able to hold them out for 70 minutes. But I do think that with players like Joe Gomez missing out, Trent missing out, there's a second wind to come from this England side. There's a few older players, if you can call them older players, that can come out. You look at Dean Henderson, he could challenge Jordan Pickford. You'd be expecting him to be challenging Jordan Pickford for the World Cup because you'd expect him to get more minutes now. So that every position should theoretically be getting stronger by the next tournament. Even players like Mark Gurhey, who we'll get onto later, who's gone to Palace, will be getting Premier League minutes now. So I no luck in this time. That should be the shout come November. So I think minimum you're looking at semi-final with the quality we've got, with what Southgate has shown that he can do in a tournament three times if you include the Nations League. We have to be looking to at least semi-finals. And if we're going back to that Greg Dyke video, the aim was to win this World Cup. So on the FA side of things, that is the aim, is to win this tournament.
Definitely. And like I said, we got to go into that tournament with a lot of hope. Joe, I think your mic's back, mate.
Hello, is it back?
He's back.
We're
all good.
Sorry about that.
No worries at all. So yeah, well, firstly, let's hear your thoughts on sort of the Euros, but England in the Euros, and then obviously we started speaking a bit there about the Qatar World Cup, and there's going to be a lot of players coming back that have been injured. What England have to go to Qatar surely there to win it. But what was your thoughts on the Euros to begin with?
So the Euros, I was really impressed with how we did. I didn't have high hopes. I thought we were going to go in there, and I thought I'd take a quarter final, a semi final, but to the final, it surprised me. I thought group stage games, we didn't look very dominant. We won, we scraped the win, but I thought when we beat Fort Crane 4-0, I thought we're talking. I thought we could go all the way, but I'm impressed. I thought for the World Cup, I think we need to get to a final. World Cup semi-final, Euros final. It's about time we win something. But yeah, I was impressed with how we did, but I thought it was quite upsetting that we lost. But Italy were the better team on the night. We played to win in the 45 minutes. We played to get 2 goals the first half and sit back. That's what I think of it, really.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's a good point for the final. Is I think once we did get that first goal, and when we scored again, it was that thing of, well, we've been there before with Kieran Trippier. Have we scored too early, and then the other team's going to come back and maybe win it? But they did, but we held on for sort of a draw and then on to penalties. I think if we had maybe just gone for it that little bit more in the first half and even in the second half, just changed it up, we could have won the game in 90 minutes. But the past is in the past. It is what it is. We gotta we've got to look forward to Qatar now because, like you said, it's going to be another good pool of English players that are going to represent us, and they're all going to be top quality. But
100% agree.
Yeah, we'll sort of bring the Euros to a close there. Euro 2020. It's been a great tournament. I know we haven't done many YouTube lives on it, but yeah, all international tournaments are good, and international football is great because, like I said, you're surrounded by your mates who support Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and all that. You usually give them a stick, but then when Luke Shaw scores, you've got a Liverpool fan coming up and hugging you. So that's what makes international football so good. But we are going to move back onto club football because pre-season's well underway for many clubs, pretty much all clubs actually. And of course, transfer rumours are back. And if you've seen us in January, every day or most days we were there with different transfer news because it just went off. So we're going to start one of the biggest, say, rumours, but it is looking close to completion. And this is why I wanted Joe on as well, is Raphael Varane to Man United. Now, I can't get excited yet until, of course, we have to Here We Go. But before we do come to Joe, I just wanted sort of Villa Morgan or Chelsea Morgan's thoughts on sort of Raphael Varane coming to the Premier League. Do you think that would suit him as a player? He's 28. He's obviously won a lot. Won the World Cup with France. He's played with obviously Pogba as well in that France squad. Do you think it's a good move for Man United? And how well do you think he could do in the Prem should the move go through?
Well, he's been in La Liga and at Real Madrid for 10 years since he was 18, around the first team. So it'll be a culture shock to him to come to the Premier League. Obviously, it's the biggest talking point when anyone ever moves to the Premier League from abroad is how are they going to adapt to the pace of the league? How are they going to cope with the wet windy Tuesday night in Stoke, or in this case, Burnley now? And how, I don't know immediately, I don't know if he's going to have the effect United fans want. I do think it will be a good move because he improves on Lindelof, he improves on Bailly, he improves on Maguire. That's not even in question. But is he enough to take you where you want to be, which is ultimately Premier League winners, Champions League winners consistently? I don't know if he's the one signing that can do that, with Sancho obviously looking like he's in the door. I don't know if it's the magic formula yet, but it's as close as United have been post Ferguson to having that formula. I think there's clearly good intent behind it, which is rare for United under the Glazers since 2013. But it's showing that they want to go back in the right way.
Definitely. I mean, again, I'm sure the us United fans, me and Joe, will speak about Varane in a minute and probably go a bit loopy over him. But Villa Morgan, Raphael Varane, I mean, there's no question, I think, like Morgan said, what he's won. He's got that winning mentality. Of course, everyone has to come in and adapt to the Premier League, to playing against the teams like Burnley and stuff, which they may not play against in Spain. But the price as well surprises me. I know he's only got 1 year left on his deal, but I think it's going to be around 50 million, maybe 55 million pounds. It's a pretty solid price for a player of his quality, and like I said, he's 28 as well, so he's ventured into his prime.
I'm with Morgan on this one. I think it's a good deal. I think he improves the squad massively, but I don't think it's a position that is necessarily desired for Manchester United to challenge Manchester City. I really don't. I think that holding midfielder position is so much more valuable to Manchester United winning the league and getting even close to Man City, because the problem that United have got is that they've got two players in McTominay and Fred that both aren't good enough to start in a title-winning team. But you need a hybrid between the two. You need a player with the engine of Fred and the ball-playing ability of McTominay. And let's be honest here, how many of them players are out there right now? Villa are probably looking for the same thing with Nakamba and Luiz. Like, it's going to be difficult to find. Varane, it just purely depends on how he adapts to the league. I personally think he's a player that's that good that he'll come to any league and he'll show how good he is. I think it'll be the same as Ramos. I think both players are going to do fantastically well at their new clubs and be solid. I think United solidarity towards the end of the season was brilliant. I thought United's defence, especially, is probably one of the most improved in the league. You look at Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire turning his season around, even Lindelof at the back end of the season. You had a solid, cohesive unit. So I do wonder whether maybe bringing in a Varane is either going to work one of two ways, where it's going to upset the apple cart and maybe that relationship might go between the two centre-halves and you have to build something new, or it might even spur players like Lindelof and Bailly on to fight for their place more. Because I don't think it's a case at all of Varane coming in and he starts every game. I think that's Maguire. I think Varane over time will become that centre-back that Maguire is for United now, that key figure. I still think Lindelof and Bailly are going to feature as well as Varane, because at the end of the day, he can't really come into the team and disjoint it. I might be wrong. Ollie might want to do that, but Ollie seems the type of guy that man management wise, he gets it spot on and he knows when to bring players in and when not to. If you look at Diallo's exactly the same. I think he's not overexposing him. I know Diallo's a young player, but I think Varane will come into the side pretty soon if he does sign for Manchester United, if it is a here we go for old Fabrizio. But no, it's a good solid signing, but I would definitely target a number 9 and a holding midfielder for United, because I don't think Greenwood's ready yet to be a number 9. I think in 2 or 3 years' time he will be. But there's other positions that need to be prioritised for Man United to even come close to catching City and potentially Chelsea, in my opinion, this year.
So fair point. It's a fair point. And I'm sure me and Joe will have our say on United in a minute. A couple comments in about United, but Morgan, you may want to turn away at this one. Yeah, we'll speak. You know what? Mustafa will hold that comment for a bit later on, because that's a good talking point. And then also this one I was intrigued to sort of talk about, and Joe will lead on from this as well. United switching to supposedly a 4-3-3, which is going to be a bit more attacking, and that's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Mike Phelan have sort of come out and stated. So, Joe, Rafael Varane to United, 4-3-3. If Varane comes through the door, I'm sort of against what Villa Morgan says. I think he will come in and start and be next to Maguire. And, yes, okay, Lindelof done okay last season and has helped our defence with Maguire. But I think if you look at key moments, West Brom away, he got outmuscled by Diane.
The final, didn't mark his man.
The final, Gerard Moreno scored. So I think there is weaknesses in Lindelof where he's not that good in the air. Yes, okay, he can play ball as well, but you look at Varane, he can play ball. He's a big stature. He's quite quick. He can accommodate Maguire. He's probably going to be physical in the air. He is physical. So that's why I think he's a clear upgrade on Lindelof. But go on, Varane to United, and supposedly a new 4-3-3 as well.
So we can't talk about Varane and Lindelof in the same sentence. That's terrible. I think Varane has to start over him, 100%. It's not even a debate. But with the 4-3-3, I think, remember when we beat Leeds 6-2, McTominay, he was allowed to push up more. The 4-3-3, you have the Bruno as the more attacking. They have a McTominay next to him, then either a Pogba or a Van der Beek. I wouldn't be against it. I thought, I have trusted McTominay. We all know that he's not the best. We all know that he can drop some stinkers. But I think that Leeds performance, we've seen what he can do when he's allowed to push up the field more. And I think with Varane at the back, that will let him... McTominay will have more trust in Varane than he will Lindelof to push up the field more, and it will be more goals, more attacking football. Because like Fred, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, they're like babysitting Lindelof sometimes, Like Lindelof, he's a top centre back, but when he's having not the best game, when he's not looking confident, he's really not looking confident. But I think Varane, I think we'll get second, and I think we'll win the FA Cup. But I don't think he will be the man to take us to the Premier League yet. I think one or two more good signings, keep Pogba, and I reckon we'll be there. But what do you think of it?
Yeah, no, I think with Varane, like you said, I think he's levels ahead of Lindelof, in my opinion, just because of the club he's played for, Real Madrid, what he's won. He's even won the World Cup with France. But I completely agree. I think United's team has sort of been trying to protect the defence a lot, and maybe more Lindelof than Maguire. We mentioned Wan-Bissaka, McFred in front of them. The only issue I have with McTominay playing in that 4-3-3 as sort of the most defensive, if you got Pogba and Bruno, is I don't think he's a defensive midfielder, and we've seen that against Leeds. He's box to box, and you're going to need a player who's going to accommodate Pogba and Bruno to do their thing. So I think you need a player. I mean, I doubt we'll get him, but a Declan Rice type player who is a defensive midfielder. Camavinga's obviously been spoken about. I think he can play that role, but again, he's a young player. Is he going to come in and start straight away as that number 6? Who knows? Saul again, but it'd be interesting to see if them talks even continue, because we'll speak about Saul later. But I do agree with Villa Morgan that if you had to say to me, right, there's 2 positions you sign, just 2 positions, because let's be real, United only usually get 2 or 3 signings. So there's only 2 positions you can strengthen. I would have said right winger and CDM, because I think Lindelof's good enough if you have a good CDM in front of him, and we need a Jadon Sancho. So, but Varane's in, or fingers crossed Varane's in. It's getting closer and closer and closer. Sancho is in. You have to go for a CDM now. United have got enough time in this window to go for a CDM. I think for me, even bin off the chance of getting a backup right back, because worst comes worst, you've still got Delo there, which is a different type of right back to Wan-Bissaka. He's obviously better going forward. Okay, not so great defensively, but the Italian league being
Brandon Williams as well.
Brandon Williams, he could stay. You've got options there as a backup right back, which is different to Wan-Bissaka. So for me, just go for a CDM once hopefully we get Varane. And then United, I don't want to say will be title challengers, but we should be title challenging after finishing second, because for Ollie, for him to try and keep his job, as much as I want the guy to stay, the only progression from second is obviously first. He has to win a trophy. He's got to mount a title challenge at least. And obviously, if he wins the league, then that's a progression from second, isn't it? But of course, it's not going to be as easy as that. But Varane to United is the centre-back I've wanted the whole time. We've been linked with Pau Torres, even Ben White, who we'll link on with in a bit. But Pau Torres, Ben White, there's been a couple of Jules Koundé as well at Sevilla. So I've always said I wanted Varane because I think he's got that winning mentality with what he's won. But again, we've got more comments in, so we'll just come on in. Shiv, how you doing, mate? Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Man United never write us off. But again, we got to clear out a lot of deadwood, and there's players.
Dan James.
See, that's another one, and we'll open this up as well to just quickly to sort of finish on United with both Morgans. Dan James, I mean, we've seen him at the Euros. Morgan, I know I don't know what. Are you percentage Welsh? Are you?
Half Welsh.
There you go. I knew you was a little bit Welsh. So you would have seen him at the Euros. And I thought, he was arguably Wales' best player at the Euros. And it's just, I think Dan James has a place in United's squad. There's a place for him in the squad. However, would I start him over Sancho? No. Would I start him over Diallo? Maybe not. Will I start him over Greenwood right wing? Maybe not. But there is that case for Dan James where you see him when he plays against the likes of Man City away. He's got assists in that game. He does the defensive stuff. When you need to break out, he's got that pace. So there's still a place for Dan James, but I just think, when is he going to get them games? So I don't know whether I think United will keep him, but I don't know.
He can provide something different. That's what I noticed from him at the Euros when watching Wales. I don't watch him too often with United, but at the Euros, he was an outlet for Wales. He was the one player getting in behind, and you could play that ball over, and you could guarantee 9 times out of 10 he'd be there. It was his lack of a weak foot and his final delivery let him down on a couple of occasions. But I'm not sure how old he is, but he's clearly, still early 20s. There's a lot of maturing left. I think United would be daft to sell him, because I think he's a player that could come back and be world class eventually, or he could go the complete opposite way and be who was Dan James in 5 years' time. So it's one that is going to have to be managed carefully, but if managed correctly, leads to a really good player.
It's a good point. I mean, obviously, we signed for 15 million. You kind of it's kind of what you expect from a player for 15 million from the Championship, especially in today's current market. But a couple of the comments coming in, and I want to bring these up. Mustafa says we've got too many wingers. Shiv says he's got the pace for counter attacks. Possibility of loaning him, maybe. I think maybe a team like, even a team like Leicester, I think could massively improve him. I know they're obviously, top 6 club now, but I think even then he could still do well for him. But Shiv's established that Brighton or Leeds. Leeds obviously been massively linked with him, if anyone's seen the Leeds doc as well. But the reason I want to bring this up is if United is switching to a more attacking style of play, we'll go to Villa Morgan. If United switch into a more attacking style of play and say a 4-3-3, you look at Dan James, and with Wales, especially in the Euros as well, and with United, obviously United's all about counter-attacking. Wales is about counter-attacking. Do you think with United wanting to maybe keep the ball a bit more, be a bit more attacking on the front foot, he's not quite that player. He's good for the counter-attack. He's good for the defensive stuff. When United need to keep the ball, when, are trying to penetrate, in and around a team's 18-yard box, he isn't quite that player. Did you think that's where, he may lose his place because it just doesn't suit him, that style of play?
I think he's definitely a good player to keep. I think he's got qualities and he seems like a very coachable player. I think he needs coaching on his end product. His pace is obviously electric, but the problem is that when he gets into a position, it almost seems like it stifles him a bit, and the delivery is always a bit poor. But look, for me, he has to stay at Manchester United. I think he's definitely got a place in that squad. I think there'll be games that will really suit Dan James. I wouldn't be loaning him out unless Ollie has no plans to play him whatsoever. But for me, I think despite the wide options that you guys have, all it takes is an injury or two to key players and you are in trouble. And Dan James is a player that I'd be more than happy to bring in if it was a game that United were going to concede, that the other team are going to have a bit more of the ball, like a Man City or like a Liverpool that maybe want a little bit more of the ball than usual. Teams like Burnley, say, but he's definitely got a place in that squad for me, 100%.
Definitely, and I think another good point to bring up is Rashford is going to be out for say 2 to 3 months with obviously his operation post the Euro, so that could be another reason as to why the likes of either him, I know Diallo was linked to going on loan, Palistri's already linked to go on loan, maybe one of them 3 or a couple of them does stay because of the extent of sort of Rashford's operation and how long he's going to be out for. Couple more comments in. Shiva said he would be a backup for Leicester, but better than his role at United. Kind of a super sub who on form will start. We've seen it in Iheanacho that when a player at Leicester is doing well, they will play. Interesting. He's also said, I like some clubs where the starting 11 is basically fixed. I think that's a good point. I think United's starting 11 was sort of fixed towards the end of last season as well, with the likes of Greenwood, Bruno, Rashford, Cavani playing up front as well, because Martial obviously was injured as well. So, yeah, I'd be interested in that. So just finally on Dan James, Morgan, would you have Dan James at Villa, if whether that be loan or permanently, if that got offered to you? Do you think that'd be a signing Villa would be interested in doing? And would he, bring quality into Villa?
If we hadn't have signed Buendia, I would have said yes, 100%. But I think with Buendia and El Ghazi and Traore and potentially Trezeguet coming back sort of New Year time, I personally don't think wing's a position that Villa need to be looking at, especially with Grealish playing out on wide left as well. So for me personally, it'd just be a pointless signing because he won't be getting football. He needs to go to a team that going to guarantee him football. I'd love to see him go to a newly promoted side like a Brentford or a Watford, where he's going to play every minute. He's going to be a vital part, because hopefully that'll get his confidence up. Because sometimes I think with him, it's maybe a bit of self-belief as well, that when he gets into positions, he knows his delivery's not that great. If he's consistently working on it in match-based situations within a season at a Watford or a Brentford where they're going to trust him all year, he could thrive. So, but personally, Villa's squad's too bloated at the moment in the wide positions to have him.
No worries. Just thought I'll pose you the question. We're going to move on from Man United, because I'm sure me and Joe could talk here all day about Man United, but obviously we are aware that there's a lot more football news to talk about. So, Chelsea, Morgan, we'll come straight to you, because I remember having this conversation with you. I can't even remember when it was. It must have been when it was either when Yeah, Tomori was on the way out, and coincidentally, Lampard was also on the way out as well. Little did we know. But I said to you, with Tomori going out on loan and then potentially being bought by AC Milan, does that spell the end for sort of the likes of Mark Guehi, who has played for Chelsea? I know he played against United in the League Cup for Chelsea when Rashford scored that absolute thunderbolt of a free kick. Does that spell the end of sort of him and also Tomori as well, because he just didn't get that chance. If Guehi was behind Tomori, then he won't get that chance. And you said I don't think so. I think he'll still get his chance, etc., etc. Well, Bosh, mate, Guehi is signed to Crystal Palace. Thoughts?
It's become a kind of trait of the Chelsea fan base since Lampard signed as manager back in 2019 that we enjoy any glimmer of an academy product getting in and around the first team. And what we've got to accept is that while they are all good players, there is a reason they get to that point as a Chelsea player. Not all of them are going to make it into the first team and consistently feature in the Premier League, or they're just not all going to be good enough to do that. And while he was very good on loan at Swansea back end of the COVID season and last season, the people at Chelsea would have watched that and would have analysed that and gone, is he going to be good enough? Is he going to make a big enough improvement to what we've already got to be worthwhile keeping around the squad next season? Ultimately, they've decided he's not. And we have got other young players coming through. We've just sent Levi Colwill out on loan to Huddersfield, so another young centre half. And we have got others coming through. We've got Xavier Mbayamba, who we signed from Barcelona last summer, who spent quite a bit of last season out injured, but when he came back, just looked solid and is looking, if not first team minutes this season, definitely next season. So there's 2 or 3 that are there or thereabouts, like kind of knocking on the door, ready to be in the near future. So I don't know if he'd have dropped behind them as well. He had looked good in spells in what he played, but again, we're saying League Cup, and that it wasn't a full strength Chelsea squad for that game. It wasn't a full strength United squad. He wasn't really constantly in the Premier League squad when in that first 6 months under Lampard, every academy product was getting a chance. Armando Broja was there, Tina Livramento, Guehi, Zuma. Everyone that came through the academy was knocking on the door, and he was still kind of not in the matchday squad regularly. So the signs were there that he wasn't going to be at Chelsea for very long, and by the sounds of it, it's just been you've been told you're not going to get any game time, so go and find it somewhere else. And fair play to him. He stayed in the Premier League. He stayed in London, so he hasn't had to go miles away. And I hope that it's not another one like we see with De Bruyne, Salah, Lukaku, Dorgan, Hazard. I think the list could go on the players that we have sold in their early to mid-20s that have then gone on to whip us as they've got into their late 20s, early 30s. So at the moment, I can see why we've done it, to improve, to give him a chance at his football career and give other young players that we've got a chance. But it could flip on us completely.
It always could. That's what seems to happen with Chelsea and academy grads.
Well, we make them too good. That's it. We make them too good.
Hey, you're not as good as Lack Carrington, mate. Just on Chelsea centre-backs as well, I completely forgot Malang Sarr was even a Chelsea centre-back.
Yeah, me too.
That's just gone past my head. I seen it today or yesterday that he was coming back, and I don't know, is he back at Chelsea now after his loan at Porto?
So he played. We had a pre-season friendly on Saturday, just before midday. We played one at Cobham against Peterborough, and he played, I think, 60 minutes of that game, and has been in pre-season all the way through, and has done a couple of interviews on Chelsea's website saying, "I'm here to keep Chelsea. I've come back to the Champions of Europe. I want to keep Chelsea at that kind of same level." And looking at what he did at Porto, in a very defensive Porto side, I think he's another reason why he has gone out the door, because he's another one who would be keeping him out the side. And it does all seem to be to give him the freedom to leave Chelsea and have his own career, while also saying to the players that we've brought in, who are a similar sort of age, that this is now your chance to fill the gap that he's left.
Definitely.
But we have also got Rudiger. What's he, 32, 33? We've got Thiago Silva, who's probably going to do this season. So that's 2 slots coming free. Christensen will be around for a few more years yet. And then it is the youth setup.
Mate, I mean, you got centre-backs coming out of everyone, mate. But obviously, Gahi's gone. Officially ages ago, we know Tomori had gone to Milan, and we did say, do you reckon he would get a chance back at Chelsea? Because when he left, I think, like we said, Lampard was actually just coming to the end of his reign when he left on loan initially, and we said, do you think he will get another chance maybe under Tuchel? It hasn't happened. Just sort of a quick thought on Tomori, but then also we've had another comment in about Billy Gilmour going to Norwich. Now, I think that's a good loan, but would you have liked to have seen him maybe go to a club which hasn't come up and is known for yo-yoing a little bit and has a little bit of Premier League stability?
If I start with Tomori, you know deep down he wasn't coming back. When you whack in an option to buy for a player of the quality we've seen from Tomori, when he's playing as much as he was at AC Milan, in the matches that he was playing, you could kind of get the feeling that they weren't going to send him back to Chelsea and go, oh, by the way, we've nurtured one of your players. So while I'd have liked to, and I think Tuchel would have given him a shot, I think he's made the right decision, and AC Milan have made the right decision, and he'll be another player come next November that will be knocking on the England door. Again, would he have through the barrier of centre halves we've got at Chelsea right now? Possibly not. So while I wasn't happy about him going out on loan, because I wasn't happy with the circumstances that happened with Lampard, basically, there was no reason for him to not be in and around the squad. It was just a kind of, he's not there and he's somewhere. He's not in the squad. He's training, but he's not getting anywhere. Yeah, it was a weird one. And then Gilmour, I'm happy with it, because while he's getting minutes at Chelsea, they're not regular, they're not consistent. He'll go to Norwich, he'll play 90 minutes in 38 Premier League games and FA Cup games and League Cup games. And will be, if they stay up, we'll look back at this and go, Billy Gilmour was one of the reasons Norwich stayed up, because that's how pivotal he'll be. He's already pivotal to a Chelsea midfield, and that's alongside N'Golo Kante. So you whack him into a Norwich midfield, he will dictate. I guarantee he'll dictate the play, become a better, stronger, more composed player than he already is, and come back to Chelsea. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only loan he has. If he comes back to Chelsea and is back into the first team, a little like Loftus-Cheek was after his Palace loan.
Fair enough. That's fair enough, mate. I mean, yeah. I'm interested to see how Gilmour got on, because even against England, he looked like a proper baller, So, yeah, that'll be
he's got man of the match. He's got man of the match in his Champions League debut, his Premier League debut, his FA Cup debut, his European Championship debut. There's reasons this happens for a defensive midfielder.
It's a bit like Rashford when he used to score in all his debuts. He's just running the stars, isn't it? Shiv says, "Where's Chong off to?" He's going to Birmingham on loan. He's doing pre-season with United. He did score at the weekend against Derby. But yeah, he will join Birmingham on loan. So Morgan will cover your risk for that. Go on.
For Fabrizio Romano, Brahim Diaz has joined AC Milan on loan, €3 million loan fee until June 2023 with a buy option for €22 million. Real Madrid have a buyback clause for €27 million.
I mean, Real Madrid love a buybacks, don't they? They absolutely love it. So that doesn't surprise me. So yeah, bit of breaking news. Who would have thought it? Who wants to hear a joke?
Sarah.
Ben White to Arsenal for 50 million. Villa Morgan, we'll come to you first. Go on, please, just enlighten me.
I really rate Ben White. I think he's a brilliant player. 50 million is probably not
Couple it out. I agree with you. Ben White is not the England spot for no reason, but when you're getting, when United could get Varane for the same as, carry on.
No, do you know what? Do you know what, though? I think he's going to go to Arsenal. I think he's going to prove everyone wrong. I think he's going to be one of those players that everyone laughs at on for a ridiculous fee. But Ben White is a phenomenal footballer. Like, he got into that England squad through merit. Like, let's not forget here that last squad place was picked based on, all right, what the squad needed, but also quite clearly who Southgate thought was the best player out of those that he wasn't going to pick. And look, he had a fantastic season at Brighton. Brighton have got a good defence. Like, Brighton are really going to miss him. I think he's a massive part of their squad gone. And I could see Brighton really being in trouble next season, letting one of their players go like this, because when he was at Leeds, he was fantastic that season in the Championship, arguably their player of the year. Helped them so much get promoted. He looked like a Premier League player in the Championship. It was ridiculous. He stuck out like a sore thumb in the Championship. He's come to the Premier League and done, again, a brilliant job for Brighton. Is he the player that Arsenal need? Yeah, I think he is a young English player that is versatile, can play multiple positions. And look, any English player is going to be overpriced in this market. For me, it's again a case of healing axe wounds with a plaster. I don't think it's going to be the answer to Arsenal just going straight back up to the top. I don't think it's that type of signing. But again, it's a player that Arsenal can now bring in and see how good Mikel Arteta is. Because if Mikel Arteta is what Guardiola claims he is, which is this masterminded coach, bringing in Tavares, bringing in the guy that they've brought in today, I can't remember his name for the life of me. Bringing in Ben White. Yeah. Bringing in Ben White. They're young players with good potential and they're going to do well for Arsenal. I think Ben White will do well for Arsenal. I think he's going to shore up that defence massively. I do think they need another right back because I think that is the position that they're weakest. So I think they need to attack that next. But Arsenal are not going to get players for cheap prices anymore. People are going to try and make them spend ridiculous amounts on players. But for me, I don't think it's too far off what Arsenal should be paying for him, really. I'd value him at 30, 35 million. I think you have to appreciate that he is genuinely a really good player. And in the next 3 or 4 years, he could be a starting centre-back for England. So you're not going to get him for cheap, especially off the back of him getting into that Euros squad as well.
Definitely. Mustafa says here he's versatile, can play CDM, right back, centre back. We've seen him play right back for England. I haven't seen him play CDM at all, I don't think, but obviously he's played centre back for Brighton. Joe, we'll come to you, but no, I completely agree. Like with Ben White, I don't want to say it's similar to Maguire, but it's the same sort of principle. You probably value the player, for example, Ben White, you probably value him at about 30 million, maybe 25. But then you've got to add on the fact that he's English, he's young, he's just got into the England squad as well. And I know Arsenal aren't the giants of old, but they still got the pulling power and it's still Arsenal linked. You've got to add that onto it as well. So all that combined is 50 million, similar to Maguire. I mean, when we bought him, he was probably worth about 50 million as the player himself. But then English, Man United, he was actually in the England squad as well. All that adds up. So, yeah, I think Ben White's a good player. He could be a big player for Arsenal. It's going to be a lot of pressure on him to try and help sort out that defence, which has been, a weakness for Arsenal. It's, a bit of a young age. But Ben White to Arsenal, 50 million, thoughts?
To get a good English player, you got to add 20 mil on the end of it, just because that's how it is. I think Ben White, he's a good player. He was a big part of Leeds' promotion, big part in Brighton staying up and not getting relegated. Good player, but the max I'd pay for him is 25 mil, 30 mil. But then to Brighton, he is worth 50 mil. But Ben White and Gabriel at the back, they could be like, people like God about how Arsenal have a terrible defence. I don't think Gabriel's too bad. We know he's not exactly the best, but he's dropped a few good performances here and there. I think Ben White's he's got the potential to be a top centre-back one day. But yeah, I think, I can't lie, I was one who was making jokes to my mates who support Arsenal about it. I mean, how can you not, But it is what it is.
I think we all will. I think we all know Arsenal fans, and we all will sort of make a few jokes that you're signing Ben White for 50 million or whatever. But you do have to look at the player. Yeah,
he will be a top player, and I'm excited to see how he does. He can either prove my point, or he can just make me look like a fool, really. But we'll just have to see what happens in the season.
I mean, you do get England tax out of it, don't you? A young English player moving in the Premier League between two. Like, would we have paid 50 million for Chilwell? Would United have paid 80 million for Maguire if he was coming from Porto and PSG? Probably not. As you've also got to look at the Arsenal situation. They are desperate, and that's why I think they can only get young players. Because let's face it, they finished 8th last season. Arsenal have no European football. The biggest pull that a club can have is having some form of European football, even if it is the Europa Conference League. It's something to say you'll be on telly at some point. So yeah, there's they're trying to go the right way, but signing these young players. Again, it's like the Dan James thing. These could all just backfire on them. I don't think they all will, but they could. They have the potential to all just, not gel together, take a while to gel, arguments, not become the players we expect them to, look like wasted money, or flip it, they all become world-class signings, and Arsenal go back top 4, are challenging for titles again, which is ultimately where, if we take your bias out of it for a second, you want Arsenal to be up there. Aside of their calibre, you want them to be fighting for titles, but I don't know, it reeks of desperation for me.
Definitely. I think that I would say they're scrambling because, like I said, they're early on in the window, but I think they're aware they need to get a bit of quality in, but especially young quality as well, and try and train that up and increase the value of players. Just to finish on Arsenal, we'll move on to this point. Lokonga obviously signed today for Arsenal. I can't remember who mentioned it. One of you mentioned it. Villa Morgan, will come to you because you probably know more about him than any of us. So just give us a little sort of rundown on Lokonga. What could he offer to Arsenal?
He's a young player that has been managed by Vincent Kompany over the last few years. That Kompany went over there and began his managerial career. He's a player that obviously come through the Anderlecht youth system, and look, he's a player that for me could be like a Yuri Tielemans, coming out of a Belgium system that has produced good footballers within the last decade. He's a player that has got a great engine on him, and look, he's going to be, in the next 2 or 3 years, I think, a fantastic, solid Premier League midfielder. However, now I don't really see him sort of breaking into the first team. He might do, but I don't really see him coming in and, taking positions of Xhaka if he stays and whoever else Arsenal decide to bring into that midfield. But he's definitely a good player that within the next few years, Arsenal will be looking at to be a regular starter in the Premier League. I think it's definitely a signing for the future, and with the right development and coaching, which Arteta should be providing to keep his job, he'll be a solid Premier League midfielder for them.
Decent. It'll be interesting to keep an eye out for him, and there'll be a lot of young players to keep an eye out on in the Premier League, and we'll do a video on that closer to the season starting. Off topic a little bit, because I said it doesn't really regard any of our clubs, but I suppose it sort of could regard maybe United and maybe Chelsea. But Saul and Griezmann swap deal. I mean, I know this is like out there, and I guess none of us really watch much of La Liga, but it's. I just want to sort of talk about Barcelona a little bit in this as well, because my God, are they in some serious problems over there. But the only reason as well I'll bring this up is Saul has also been linked a lot, especially with Man United heavily. I think Chelsea might be another club linked. Liverpool. I don't think City have, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were.
It's Barcelona with this deal, and then it's United, Chelsea, Liverpool ready to pick up on the scrap.
So there you go. That's what I thought it was. Maybe where do we even start? Who wants to kick off on this one? I mean, because Griezmann going back to Atletico after being on 800 grand a week at Barcelona. Barcelona having to use free transfers to offload people. They can't even bring them free transfers in because they've got they're paying too much to people. Messi's having to take half a wage to stay on. Like, oh my God, who wants to start on this? Because it's Barcelona and London, I swear.
If you don't mind, I'll go first. I think this is the first swap deal that Barcelona have done in a couple of years that actually puts Barcelona on the better side of the deal. Atletico are getting an older Griezmann. They're getting Griezmann who'll require more wages, and whereas you flip it, Barcelona are getting younger Saul who bolster their midfields where they've already made a mistake when they did the Pjanic Artur swap, and they were on the wrong side of that one. So it's a bit of strength out of there, and I do think it's the only way they can get better players without spending money. Because if you look at the Messi contract situation, I mean that's a mess. The guy's having to deduct half his pay just to try and keep the club in the green money wise. You know, it's a bit of a state, but I do think that they would look better without Griezmann in the side. I don't think they've quite got the best out of him. Griezmann would be happy. He's going back to a club where he's had loads of success and is loved by the fans. I don't think there'd be an issue there. So ultimately, I think both parties would be happy. It's just a case of finding something that Barcelona can clutch onto to try and get them back to somewhere near where you'd expect Barcelona to be, which is ultimately winning La Liga and winning the Champions League.
Definitely. Villamor, just before we come to you on this, Fabrizio tweeted out a couple of hours ago stating, this was from the Atletico president, saying, in the world of football, anything is possible. No one knows what the outcome of these negotiations will be. Griezmann back. If that happens, it'll be a pleasant surprise. You will soon know something. How much do you think there is in this? Because we'll come to Joe in a bit as well to sort of talk about United's potential interest in Chelsea and that as well. But do you think this will happen? This is something that can happen, and just with Barcelona as well, Saul's a top quality player, and that he'll go in and improve them. But the way Barcelona have been the past few years with transfers is just a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
No wonder Barca wanted this Super League to pull through, and no wonder they didn't even pull out when any of the other teams did.
Still haven't pulled out, have they?
No,
still haven't pulled out. It's
them Juventus Real trades.
I think the transfer is just. I honestly couldn't care about the transfer because it's so sad to see a historic football club as Barcelona just being run absolutely horrifically. And I've been reading Johan Cruyff's book over the last month, and to see some of the things that he predicted would happen at Barcelona in this current time is actually frightening. The way that it's ran over there, it is just awful. It's absolutely awful. It's shambolic. How can you be in such a financial state? How are you having Anton Griezmann on 800 grand a week? There is absolutely no way that he is better than players in the Premier League that are earning about 700 grand less. It's actually a joke. Like, it'd be a great deal for Barcelona and Atletico because, like Morgan said perfectly, I think both players are getting, in terms of the player, I think both sides are getting a good deal out of it. But Barcelona have to get Griezmann off that wage bill. The fact that Messi is taking half a wage just to stay there, for me, is absolutely imminent to them, because if Messi goes, La Liga has nothing. Messi has to stay in that league. He cannot leave. Commercially, footballing-wise, he can't leave. That's the only pull people have to that league anymore. That's the only ties that people are with. Ronaldo's gone. It's just Messi. So just the whole situation with that is just ridiculous. And look, if they can't get the swap deal over the line and move to the Premier League for Saul, it'd be brilliant. I don't think anyone should touch Griezmann because I don't think personally it'd suit the Premier League at all. But Saul would be a brilliant signing for one of the three that have been interested.
Yeah, exactly, and that perfectly leads on. I mean, Joe lad, if any of you guys probably don't watch him, Joe, you might do, but Stephen Alson from Stretford Paddock has a serious fetish for Sal Niguez, and I think he is. If we was to sort of compare him to a United player of old, it'd be that Ander Herrera type player, but I guess
100%.
better as well. So I'm not gonna lie. Every time we're linked with, say, a central midfielder, obviously Pogba, who knows what could happen with him. I'd love to see Sal play for Man United, but with the likes of Pogba, hopefully Joe comes back in a minute, but with the likes of Pogba, we've got the likes of Van der Beek in there, Bruno, there's young boys coming in as well. I would love to see Sal Niguez at Man United. I'm going to put that out there straight away. But he's linked with other clubs. He's linked with Chelsea. He's linked with the lot. So, Joe, mate, Sal Niguez, obviously this deal could go through. There has been reports United are in sort of semi-negotiations, I guess you could call it, because I don't know how credible the sources are. But Saul is a player. I think we both say we'd love to see
he's a
United.
top player. He's a top player. He'll give me Herrera vibes. Like I don't see much of La Liga, but what I've seen in like the past few years in the Champions League and all that, he seems like he doesn't stop running. He can dribble. He can pass. He can shoot. He can defend. He's got everything that you want for a good midfielder. But thing is though, back to if we use a 4-3-3, he'll be good. But if we do a 4-2-3-1, he's not that defensive. He's more box to box. So then I'm thinking what's the need? Because then we have a Pogba, we have a Van der Beek. But then if the 4-3-3s are true, I think I'd love him there, and I would pay like the 40 mil or 50 mil, however we have to get him in there. So I think he'll be a top player. I think he's like 26, 27, still quite young. So he has potential. And what do you think of it?
I think, like I said, Saul is he's a top quality player. And I think every time, I watch Stephen Alson, etc., he always goes on about Saul. I watched the video today of, I think it's interesting if United go 4-3-3, like we've said, he could potentially do that defensive role. But I think if he was to come in, and this is a massive if, because, we don't know what's happening with this deal, what far United are in talks with him. Maybe you could play that 4-3-3 with him, Pogba and Bruno, but they'd all have to be more fluid in terms of the fact they'd all have to attack at times. They'd all have to do the defensive jobs. They wouldn't be a certain specific defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder, box to box. They'd all have to do that role. But Saul, like you said, he's a serious Ander Herrera, and I think better as well.
Upgraded.
And, yeah, we all seen the love Herrera got from Man United fans as well. He was a top player. So I'd love to see Saul at Man United. Same. But, I don't think if this deal collapsed and he was going to go to the Prem, you got Chelsea involved, probably you got Liverpool involved. Morgan, just quickly on Saul. Is this a player you'd like to see at Chelsea? Would he fit into Chelsea? And I guess, I know you're not a Liverpool fan. Could you see him going to maybe Liverpool as well?
Chelsea, it's tough. I like the three midfielders we've got. I like Kante, I like Kovacic, I like Jorginho. They all provide something.
And that's without Mount. That's without you mentioning Mount.
I'm just thinking as the ones that play in that, because of the system we play, the ones that play in that 3 and that 2 that we've got at the moment. I don't know if Tuchel's going to try and be a bit more fluid with it this season, but at the moment, it's those 3 that are fighting for those positions, and Mount can come in there. So would I sacrifice one of those players for Sal to come in? I'm not sure I would, personally. I think we've got, no Champions League winners at the end of the day, so I don't know if you do drop out one of them. They all fit the system quite well. I think if you get him in, he's going to have to fight for his place. And does he want to come in for a guaranteed start, or does he want to come in for a battle? That's what you've got to weigh up there. At Liverpool, I think he's more likely to go and start. They've lost Wijnaldum. They've got Fabinho, Henderson, Milner could play there.
Thiago,
I knew I was missing someone.
Keita.
So there we go. I knew I was missing people, but I don't know. I think it's an easier midfield to go into because a few of the players that we've mentioned there, Henderson and Fabinho, particularly, are older players. They won't have as long left at the top level, whereas Sal will. You know, I know Henderson's still 28 and he's got a few more years, but there is the argument that even at Chelsea, to be fair, these players will eventually come to a point where their careers will start to decline, and then you want a player of a Sal age to come in and be ready straight away. They'll be 25, 26, 27 when these players are coming to the end. So it could work for either of the two. I just think he'd be more suited to Liverpool than Chelsea currently.
That's a fair point, but I think he'd be more suited to Man United than all the other two, in my opinion.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Of course.
I'm just
and Bill Morgan's like, well, I want him here. Bring him in.
But don't worry, Morgan, Bill Morgan, we'll come to you in a second. But I'm just saying, if United sign Sancho, Varane, Saul, Trippier, we're winning the lot. We're winning a lot.
Mate, the quadruple SARS.
Right, Villa Morgan, Aston Villa transfer news, and we'll do Chelsea as well, and we'll briefly touch on United.
What Chelsea transfer news do you want to talk about?
Well, that's for you. That's for you to enlighten us, mate. Give us any, hot rumours. And we all know Haaland's not going, so that's the end of that. But Villa Morgan, last time you were on it, we mentioned the fact that Emile Smith-Rowe looks very unlikely now. I think they're giving the number 10 shirt a new 5-year contract. Personally, I would have loved to see Smith-Rowe at Villa. I think that would have been tasty with Buendia, Grealish, etc. But I think I don't think that's going to happen. You also mentioned James Ward-Prowse, because I think you're looking at that central midfielder, maybe the attacking one, or maybe, like you said, a more defensive one that could, really play that United's certainly looking for. What's the news? What's the crack going on with Villa at the minute? Because Rashik has gone to Norwich. You said he didn't want to go to a relegation club. I mean, I can't get my head around that one. But what's going on with Villa?
When it seems like the priority is now getting another centre half in because we let Bjorn Engels go back to Belgium. We're looking for a number 10. It is quite known in the market that we are in for a number 10. And we're potentially looking for a centre forward or a player who can interchange and potentially play out wide, but that's not really desirable. It's more getting that number 10 in. I think he's happy. Dean Smith seems happy with Nakamba and Louise. He seems to think that we've got strength. He likes, obviously, McGinn in that slightly further role. Obviously, I think Nakamba's going to play a lot more next season to allow McGinn to play a little bit further, because I think with players like Buendia now coming in, hopefully a new number 10, whoever that may be, we're going to be looking to sort of get on the ball more. But to be honest, there's not really a lot going on. Twanzebe's been linked. I'd love to see Twanzebe at Villa. I think he needs to come to us because I don't see him having a career at Manchester United, and I think potentially him and Konza could be a fantastic duo for us moving forward if Mings was to ever move on after his brilliant performances in the Euros. But look, there's names linked. For me, the biggest transfer this summer that has to be sorted out is Grealish staying at the club. I don't care who we bring in now. I just want Grealish to be on that. Well, I know he will be in that team for the first game of the season. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind. I think people that seem to think that he's going to Manchester City, if you're not a Villa fan, you won't know why. It's hard to explain why we know that he's not going there, but this lad is a Villa lad through and through. He's been there since he was 6 years old. He is taking us to Europe, and look, City can dream on that they're going to get him all day. It honestly is not happening. I will hand on heart say he is not going. Honestly, he's not going. The whole rumour about him reconsidering this move, honestly, is nonsense. If you look at the sources that it is coming from, it's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Like, you have to be a Villa fan to understand, but he is not leaving the club. He was doing our new kit launch this week. He wouldn't. The player of the loyalty of him, considering, look, if Grealish was going to go, he'd have gone by now. He'd have been long gone. He'd have gone last summer, because last summer was the time time that he was actually, and he's since come out and said he was going to leave. He was going to Man United, and it was the owners that spoke him round. At us as a club, we have no even option to negotiate a transfer. We won't even let anyone come in and speak to us about him. The club are not going to let him leave, and he's not the type of player to put in a transfer request and do that. I think he will stay with us now for the rest of his career. I think if he was going to go, it would have been last summer. And look, he does deserve a move to a big club. And I see a lot of City fans saying, oh, if he doesn't join, he lacks ambition. It's called loyalty. It's called loving a football club that much that you want to take him back to the top. Seeing the demise of him when he was younger and making him into what his dad and his past relatives used to see, which was a successful Aston Villa. And he wants to be a part of that. So I have no doubt in my mind, honestly, that this new contract that has been spoke about will be signed within the next 2 weeks, and he'll be an Aston Villa player next season, 100%.
Let's open up then. Yeah, go. Let's open up. Grealish to Man City. I mean, because let's be real here, he's not going to go to United, especially this summer. So it is going to be, if it was ever to happen, it'd be 100, maybe more. It could be even be more than 100 that Villa would get for him. Joe, we'll quickly come to you then. Chelsea Morgan will come to you. Grealish, could you, obviously I understand Villa Morgan's point of, you know, I've seen the stuff online, the fact that his family all being Villa fans, what he's gone through, etc., etc. And, you know, it'd be hard for a Villa fan to see him leave. I'm not saying he will, but do you see him staying at Villa his whole career, or do you think there will be a time, I don't want to say similar to Harry Kane, because Kane hasn't left yet, but do you think there'll come a time where he's like, do you know what? This is as far as I can take it. This is as far as I can go.
I reckon it'll be
that's fair. That's fair. But Shearer did win. He won the league before he went back to Newcastle, didn't he?
I reckon Grealish, he'll like to win a trophy with Villa, like an FA Cup, a Carabao Cup. I reckon when he gets, like, he's 25 now, isn't he? I reckon, like, when he's 29, 28, I reckon that he'll probably see himself a move. Because I think as much as he will love a club, he wants to be remembered as a football legend, not just a Villa legend, you know? Seeing the person he is. But that's just what I got. I don't do much into Villa and all that, but I think he'll do a few years, win an FA Cup or something like that, and then I reckon he'll leave.
Chelsea Morgan, go on. Thoughts on Grealish?
It'll be very, very, very hard for him to leave. He's got that mentality at Villa, like Terry and Lampard had at Chelsea. That's the thing I compare it to the most. And you could almost compare it to Scholes and Giggs at Manchester United. They've got that and Gerrard at Liverpool. I mean, the list goes on of players that are committed.
Could you, just on that point though, the players you mentioned there, could you not argue, and this isn't to put Villa down at all, but with them clubs, I know maybe not Liverpool, but Chelsea were winning Premier League, United were winning Premier Leagues, they were winning Champions Leagues, Liverpool won Champions Leagues.
Not when Terry was at the club. When Terry started at Chelsea, you know, we hadn't had the Roman Abramovich takeover yet. We hadn't won a Premier League in nearly 50 years. Obviously, Gerrard's never won a Premier League. Carragher never won a Premier League at Liverpool. The only two you could say had a bit of a, you know, more reason to is Scholes and Giggs. But even then, there's so much desire to be at that club and just love for the club that you're not even going to consider, or not into the very back end of your career, even consider a move away. And that is, I think, is the only time I can see Grealish legitimately moving away. The only other reason would be to keep Villa afloat. If Villa somehow went into a financial disarray and they needed a big money transfer to balance the books and get them going, Grealish should probably be the first one to go, sell me. And he'd go to one of the big six, I include Leicester in that. You know, one of those, and they'd pay 120 million. I think he improves every single side in the Premier League. Just
in the world.
But I mean, look at what happened when he came on for England. He drives at players in a way that others just won't.
He gave us hope.
Mate, you should see he's warming up. When he's warming up, you've got the whole You got the
He's
whole
the
of thing
only player.
singing
We're gonna
Stupid
win. That's what
Jackie
we feel.
Grealish. Everyone's like, get him on. And as soon as he's warming up, it's like, come on.
He's the only player that I've ever heard get celebrated when he's come on. I've never heard a cheer when a player gets substituted, but he genuinely got a cheer every time. And there are few players in world football that will get that. So I don't see him leaving Villa. But if he does, like I say, if he does, it'll be to the MLS at the age of 37 or to a Big Six club because Villa are about to bust.
I reckon he'll retire young.
Really?
I reckon he'll get, because he gets clamped so much. I reckon that he'll retire on like 34, 33. I reckon that's what I think. He'll leave Villa at 30, do 3 years in MLS. Heard it here first.
Well, Villa will
I
go
just
on.
think-
Tie a bow in the Villa transfer news and Jack Grealish.
Thing is, I have to shoot off after this, but look, you can't put a price on him. You actually can't. I remember saying years and years and years ago, I remember watching so many Villa games in the Championship. I remember turning to my friends and saying, honestly, he will be world class one day. He will be one of England's best products. Everyone laughed at me. Everyone said I was stupid. Everyone said, what do you see in him? But the thing is that the way that he has developed as a player is just ridiculous. Like you said, the reception that he gets on an international level now, it was something ridiculous. There's something on Twitter where for his first 11 England appearances, he won man of the match in 8 in a row. I think he got 2 assists in the other one, but there hasn't been a single England game yet that he's played where he hasn't had a goal, an assist, or a man of the match performance, apart from the final against Italy. For me, against Germany, he changed the game. For a Villa fan, it's so great to see just a player that I've grew up watching in my generation, and everyone appreciates how good he is. Like, no Villa fan would ever begrudge him a move. If he ever left the club, he would be held in the highest regard, in my opinion, I think any Villa player has ever been. He is worshipped and idolised, and I don't think if he went to City, I don't think he'd get ridiculed for it. I think we'd have the utmost respect and appreciation because the guy could have left when we were at rock bottom in the Championship, and he didn't. He stayed with us and grinded us up to that Premier League. And the quality of that guy, honestly, I won't put a price on him. With the money that he's getting thrown around in this modern day, you look at Ben White for 50 million, Nicolas Pepe for 72 million. I remember having a chat with an Arsenal fan last season about Pepe and Grealish, and he was telling me that Grealish was nowhere near worth 72 million. I wonder if I had that same conversation now, that he'd be saying the same thing, because he's priceless. He's absolutely priceless to us. And look, I think he will stay with us because of just pure love for the club. Pure love. And you know, I'd put it similar to Calvin Phillips at Leeds. I don't think he'll ever leave Leeds either, because especially in that Leeds documentary, the thing that come out with Calvin Phillips was passion, his family's passion for the club. I think it's the same with Grealish, the passion that runs through that family of Villa. You know, he's got everything as well to stay at Villa. We've got rich owners now. We've got a manager who's a Villa fan. We've got an assistant coach who's a Villa fan. We've got John Terry in our back staff. Like, there's nothing. We've got a thriving youth set up. There's nothing that Grealish can't be on board with anymore. We're not the same club that we used to be 10 years ago, struggling to stay in the Premier League with no ambition or vision. We're the opposite of that now. So, look, I think he's just a ridiculously phenomenal player, and it upsets me to see him get as little game time in the final, because I really do think he was the difference maker and he just wasn't utilised enough across the tournament. That's the only criticism I'd have of Southgate. Probably a bit biased, but hey ho.
Well, let's put it this way. Mount played as a winger in that final, and no disrespect to Mount, but I think that there was better options to play on the wing than the Mason Mount. But Morgan, I know you got to shoot off, so appreciate you coming on. You said Villa needed a centre back. You can have Phil Jones, mate. He's available. And to be honest, mate, the only reason Yeah, the only reason we talk about Jack Grealish, will he ever leave, is because I've got a dream. I've got a dream, mate. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, mate, and I'll speak to you in a bit.
Cheers, lads. See you later.
In a bit. So yeah,
Wow.
we're gonna start wrapping up anyway. But Chelsea Morgan, go on, hit us, because I know you said there wasn't much going on.
I think I can summarise this in about 30 seconds. Obviously, I think everyone has seen the Haaland rumour. I don't know how much weight there is behind it. I don't know if there'll even be a bid from Chelsea. That they've said, Chelsea have said, no, sorry, Bruce Dortmund have said it would take like a magical bid, something completely outlandish. I think it's like 175 million that they're after to get anywhere near. Considering saying that because they're already losing Sancho this window, so we really have to break the bank on this one. We really would have to break the bank on this one if we wanted to get him in. We've seen Abramovich do it before. Would he do it again? Not sure. We've already got quite a bit of money from player sales, so the money is definitely there. Other than that, we are in for literally every striker in Europe. I keep on seeing flash up.
I was going to say, Lewandowski in it today. For like
50 mil bid, isn't it? Yeah.
Lewandowski for 50 million. The other one, I've forgotten his name. Sasa Kaladzic, the Austrian striker, 6'7", from where he's in the Stuttgart. Yeah, Stuttgart. So he's the other one that's been linked recently. It gives me very much January 2018 vibes when we were linked with Peter Crouch and Andy Carroll and Ashley Barnes. Just any striker under the sun. So other than that,
any striker that was 6 foot
who can head the ball.
Yeah.
And then you got Giroud. Oh, actually.
And then we've got Giroud, yeah. Who's now left? Go on,
he has gone to AC Milan.
2 million euros plus add-ons.
Would he be considered a club legend?
Cult hero. He's got the same kind of status as
Odia Nigalo.
Ramirez. Yeah. Well, I'm going to compare him to another Champions League winner and say Ramirez, because he wasn't at the club long enough to become a legend. Like Azpilicueta is a club legend, but he definitely, was 11 goals in our Europa League winning campaign. So he's one of the only players who I never saw the Chelsea fan base argue. Giroud is solid. Giroud does a good job. He plays well. He scores goals. There was never a complaint about him, and we did the right thing. He agreed to the contract so that we got a bit of money for him, and he's going somewhere where he can retire in a very nice city. You'd be quite jealous of him. Oh, go to Milan to retire, same as Ibrahimovic. What a shame. So
imagine AC still have Mandzukic. They'd have Giroud, Mandzukic, and Ibrahimovic as 3 strikers.
Quite a lineup there. Then we've got Zuma. Looks like he could be heading out.
Really?
Not sure where. Yeah, not sure where to. But he's not been in that.
Do you know what? Why mention Zuma? I think Kieran mentioned today about possibly Everton being linked with him, because I think Everton are after every player under the sun as well. Delo, yeah.
Yeah. So, but Zuma's a player that could be on the way. Obviously, he's gone. I don't think we're looking at any other centre halves. I don't really think we're looking at any central midfielders. The only area we seem to be interested in is that forward position, that striker, because it's the one place that was lacking last season under Tuchel. Under Lampard, you could say that every area was lacking. Under Tuchel, it was just the strikers that having to play.
Abraham
Havertz up front.
What do you think about Abraham?
Tuchel don't like him for some reason. It's like.
We should have asked Villa Morgan if he'd go back there, because I think that'd be a good move for him.
Villa fans are biting Chelsea to try and get him to sell, and Swansea fans, want him back. Every club that he's been at wants him.
Bristol City.
Well, they take him, But no, for some reason, it's like with Tomori and Lampard. For some reason, Tuchel doesn't like him. He hasn't played him, and he plays against Peterborough and scored a goal. But I don't know if he'll actually get a chance through the rest of pre-season. We've got this Mind tournament with Tottenham and Arsenal towards the end of this month, start of August, where it's being played between, I think it's one game at Tottenham Stadium, one game at Stamford Bridge, one game at Arsenal. So possibly he plays there, but I see more chance that Timo Werner plays as a striker next season than playing Tammy Abraham. And I think
Havertz as well plays as a striker.
Havertz plays in the front three. Striker, I'm not sure, but he definitely plays in that front three. I do think we could see a lot of, if we don't sign a striker, you'd see a lot of Werner, Havertz and Mount being the Chelsea front three, because
Pulisic.
it worked so well last season. Impact player. He's too injury prone. He's too injury prone to get
Look like Bailly.
to get a run a game. Yeah, to get
Top player injured.
Post lockdown, Pulisic was one of the best players in the world, but that was a fit Pulisic, consistently fit. Now he's nowhere near. Well, he is near it, but he's not consistently near that same level, which is the frustrating thing, because you know that underneath those injuries is a world-class player that can do it every week. So, no, transfer-wise, we're quite dull, but we had a big boom last season, and I think this season, after winning Champions League last season somehow, this season has to be looking at winning the Premier League.
Fair enough, mate. I mean, I can't really argue with all the stuff you said. I mean,
Yeah.
Hopefully you get some players in, mate, because I'd be interested to see
I'm not
you do
too
get
concerned if we don't, though. I'm not too concerned if we don't, because of what we did last summer, and I do think that going into next season, the squad we have is
You've got
is
tactic.
good enough.
You know what you're doing. You're stable.
We've got Thomas Tuchel, who has. There is no better metric than to say Thomas Tuchel has beaten Pep Guardiola 3 times in 6 weeks.
Hey, Ollie did that as well. Not in 6 weeks, but he did it.
In a Champions League final. But the point is that 3 times Guardiola set up with 2 defensive midfielders, 1 defensive midfielder, no defensive midfielders, and every time Tuchel found a way around it. So I'd be confident next season that, having had a pre-season, he'd be able to be fluid with formations, fluid with tactics, and we'd look at an even better side than we did back in the last season. Not drawing to the
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. We'll end up just quickly on a bit of United transfer news. I know we've spoken about Varane, Sancho. I mean,
God.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard. So
I've just seen that one actually.
Yeah, Lingard is staying. Sancho in. Varane getting closer. Talks of Trippier. Talks of Saul. Talks of Camavinga. Have gone a bit quiet, but that could be good quiet. Just because they got quiet doesn't mean it's bad.
Oh.
Go on, say that again, mate.
No one seems to be leaving as well. I haven't heard anything about anyone leaving apart from Dalot to Everton, but that's still not a reliable source.
Yeah, Dalot's an interesting one. Because I think AC want him back. Obviously, Everton's been linked with him. Like I said,
Premier League All-Stars, aren't they?
Yeah, they take anyone for the Prem, AC Milan. I'd be brutally honest. I rate Dalot as a player. Obviously, as a right back, I think there's areas defensively where he needs to improve. But maybe the Serie A being a defensive, you need to be a good defender to play in that league, and he's done all right over there. Hopefully, that's improved him a bit. And if United want Trippier, who is an attacking fullback, you see him play for England, then you might as well just keep Dalot because he's young, he can have that potential as well. When that's your backup right back, but. Yeah, it's been a bit weird on the outs for Man United. Obviously, Chong's secured a loan move. A couple of the young ones will secure loan moves away. But Jesse Lingard staying. And Joe, go on. Thoughts on Lingard staying?
I've got real. I love Lingard. I'm a big fan of him. But I think when your time is up, your time is up. I don't see Lingard getting in over Bruno, and I don't see him getting over Van der Beek either. So what is the point if he's going to play out of position and he's going to be our third choice in position? When I'd rather have Sancho, Rashford and Martial on the wings over him and Greenwood. So I love Lingard. I've got
Even
one.
Ahmad to an extent.
Yeah.
But not even the form that he showed at West Ham. You know, the guy did score 9 goals in the second half of last season.
But things like he had no one contesting him for his position. No, he knew that one bad performance, he'd still be in there. You know, as of United.
But some
it.
players do that. They get that security of they're not going to be dropped, and the level of performance drops. So I don't know if something can be said for the fact that he kept his performances so high, so consistently, and I'm surprised he's staying at United. I thought he'd want to jump straight back on the train to London and get back to West Ham.
Yeah, because West Ham, if they keep Bryce, they sign, I think, Areola in goal, you know. They get a good fit, but they keep Antonio, they buy back up. They've got Ben Rama, they've got Bowen. They could be like a European side for the next couple of years' time with the way they're going. David Moyes doing a good job at them as well.
Yeah, I think with West Ham, they always, for me this season, they need quality depth to help them in Europe, because I think that's what made them run out of steam, because they were up for Champions League at one point. They were up for getting a Champions League spot, and that's what made them run out of steam. So I think going into Europe next season in the Europa League, they need more quality and depth as well. But like I said, Lingard at United, I'm surprised we're keeping him. To be honest, though, I think United have asked for 30 million. They'd probably take 25. I think that's a fair price for the bloke. I mean, he's what, 28, 29-ish. He's in his prime years. He knows the Premier League inside out. He's played in it. But I agree with Joe. I mean, he doesn't start over Bruno. For me, Van der Beek's not even a 10, and I'd still play Van der Beek there.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't start on the wings. So you still got Ahmad, Pellistri, Dan James, Greenwood, Sancho, Martial.
So good. I'm not comparing Pellistri to Messi, but when he gets the ball, he likes. He's giving me Messi vibes. Mates were the piss out of me for saying it, but he gets the ball. He likes to take on players. He looks really exciting to watch, and give him a loan to Brighton, maybe like a Wolves. I'd love to see him in the Prem.
Well, that's the thing with Pellistri. I was intrigued to see how he did against Derby, because obviously I don't think any of us have seen Alaves play regularly. And I know they'd only just, or not only just, but they did stay up in La Liga. But I would, after seeing what he did against Derby, I wouldn't mind seeing him move to somewhere in the Prem just to see how he gets on. Whether that is Brighton, Wolves, someone like that, I wouldn't mind it.
Like a Bournemouth.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be too bad. But then I don't know Pellistri's age. If he's 19, 20,
18,
so
maybe.
Okay, if he's 18, then that's fine. The thing is, you don't want him being 20. You get what I mean? You don't want him being 20, 21, being loaned to the Championship. You want that to be sort of a Premier League loan or Man United level. But look, I think any loan would suit him.
Yeah. How old do you reckon Chong is? I suppose he's like 23, isn't he?
No, I think Chong is like 20 odd. I'll quickly Google it. But
yeah, he broke through quite young. About 17 when he made his United debut.
Chong is 21.
29.
So he's a bit old, and he's, like I said, he's just gone on loan to Birmingham in the Championship. So
same age as Kai Havertz.
Yeah. Well, mate, people have different pathways. Same age as Jadon Sancho, innit?
Yeah.
But no, with United, I think we both said Sancho's in. Varane hopefully should be in. I'd love to see Varane there. We just need a CDM.
You're having the window we had last season.
I don't think we're getting as many players though.
No, you're not getting the 6 players that we got in, but it is very similar in the sense that you are getting your number one target every time, and that can only mean good things. That can only mean that there's something good happening at your club, and it can only mean that you're going to have a good 2, 3, 4 seasons with these players. You know, if anything, we've swapped windows. Well, we can't sign anyone for love nor money, and you can sign. Oh, come to United. You know, it does. It bodes well for a good Premier League season. We've got City, who will always be up there. We should be up there. United should be up there. Liverpool should be up there. You'd say Leicester will be in and around the top 4 again. So we could have 5 or 6 teams going for top 4 and the title.
Just on the topic of Man United and transfers, Declan Rice is obviously massively linked with United. because obviously we're looking for that CDM position. Ruben Neves as well. I'm surprised he hasn't possibly got himself a move away. Maybe Tottenham come knocking with Nuno there and maybe Neto, Fabio Silva, them sort of players, maybe start leaving. But Declan Rice, for me, I find it difficult to see United sign. Yeah, I find it difficult seeing United signing him because we said this in January. It is only a matter of time before he becomes a Chelsea player if he keeps up the way he's playing.
Like the way I do feel like it's only set up for Chelsea, and it's nothing to do with the player and how he plays. I wholly base it and off of his relationship with Mason Mount. And they want to come back to Chelsea. He was a Chelsea academy product, and he want to, go back in his circle and finish the job. But look, if a player, I thought at some point that Sancho was going to come to Chelsea. If a club goes in with the right money at the right time, they end up going to whatever club has bid that money. So if it is United, if it is City, if it is Chelsea, that is where the Declan Rice will end up. But at the moment, I can't get anywhere other than Chelsea. If not this summer, then the next.
I was going to say, is that a move you think could happen this summer? Do you think it will happen this summer?
Not this summer.
To be fair though, it is 100 million for Declan Rice because that's what West Ham values.
He's on our list. He's on our list. Yeah, but come on, 100 million is the asking price. But we all know football clubs are good negotiators. Our asking price for Ben Chilwell was 80 million, and we got it down to 50. So it's never going to stay at 100 million for any player, for any club.
Go on, Joe. What were you saying?
I was gonna say Declan Rice. I think Chelsea have Kante, they have Kovacic, they have Jorginho. Would he start over the midfield pair of Jorginho and Kante?
The thing that always seems to happen though is around.
You don't want to spend 100 million on a player that doesn't start.
But around kind of November, December, and then again about April, May, Jorginho's agent will consistently pop up and say, "Oh, Jorginho wants to move away," or he's not quite happy at Chelsea, or the
sounds like Pogba.
It's a very similar situation, and he always does it at the worst time. Like he did it before the Champions League final. So I think if anyone's going to move away from the club imminently, it is Jorginho because of his agent, and that's where Rice could slot in. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it happens this summer.
Agent Luke Shaw would get us Rice. Wouldn't mind that.
Mate, not at all. Man United, like we said, Sancho's in, Varane close. Mark Goldbridge has the 90% club back out again. It's in full swing. So that tells you how close he thinks Varane is to United. Again, maybe a backup right back, but for me, CDM's the position we got to go for. Who that is, it could be Declan Rice, it could be Camavinga, it could be Saul Niguez. Personally, just get Saul Niguez and then get Camavinga as well. And, get Camavinga to learn off of Saul in that position. And,
sell one or the other. Sell Fred. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not a bad shout. I mean, Morgan knows my views on McFred, and it's not pretty. And I don't have Van der Beek on the back of this shirt for no reason.
No, you love McFred.
Well, things are.
McFred, what a joke! We had to play Pogba left wing because of them too. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there because it's been a long stream, but we've had a lot to talk about. It's been a good one. As always, Chelsea Morgan, appreciate you coming on. As always, his links are in the description if you want to go and check him out. He's on Twitter, he's on Insta, so make sure you go check him out. Joe, mate, appreciate you coming on. Your first one. We'll definitely have you on for more. Hope you've enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all, mate. No worries. We will have you on. And as always, Joe's links are all in the description. Insta, Twitter and TikTok as well. So yeah, if you are new, make sure you do hit the subscribe button. Good top quality content. We'll try and do a lot more of these more frequently. We're all just very busy, so yeah, it's tough to try and pin people down, especially me and Morgan who actually have set this up. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you haven't, make sure you sub, make sure you like, follow everyone that's been on today. Villa Morgan's links are in the description as well. and we will see you